60 feet away. And it didn't fall diagonally, it fell straight down as if you were dropping a stone. I thought, oh, what's that? It's a Saturday, so Sunday I went out and picked it up, and it was a meteorite. Took it to the museum, and it's been classified as a stony iron. Okay, well, when that meteorite fell, I had a visit, and this is a being that visited me. That is a costume it's wearing. Please don't think that that is natural. That is a costume that it has on. One of the few times I got a name, its name is Zu-Ga. Zu-Ga. However, it defected and joined the reptile faction, and when it joined the reptile faction, they said, you can't have a name Zu-Ga, we're going to give you a reptile-sounding name, so her name was Zu-Ga, which is roughly how a reptile, if we transferred it into English, would say. So she is a self-confessed servant of the reptiles. And this creature came into the front room and sat me, or stood me up onto the coffee table. I had a coffee table, Mother had a coffee table about that high, and said, look at the ceiling. I looked at the ceiling, and it just went black, and all the stars appeared. Now, she was going into my mind. This is what's known as mind projection. And she was saying, well, this is where we come from, and started pointing out the stars to me. And then we did something else which was very interesting. We just give her a little shake, because she's a very sexy creature. And I thought I'd been taken to a museum. Now, you wouldn't get the sign, would you, in real life saying museum closed? Just wouldn't happen. But it's setting the picture for a young boy to know, oh, you're in a museum. And we have here a T-Rex, and then she lifts me up. Now, I reckon I'm on the coffee table still. She just picks me up by the waist and just lifts me up. So I have a physical movement to go with the mental projection. And time again, I reach out, and I do this several times, and I touch the tooth of the reptile. And they will say this quite often, look at you, the bridge between two worlds. So I'm often referred to as the bridge between two worlds, because the reptilian world and another world. And then I go around and I know all my dinosaurs, and then a grey comes to collect me. So the point of showing you this is that this is not an experience where I've been taken away, but where I've just been in the front room and the creature has come in and just gone straight into my mind. Okay? I couldn't resist putting this in. That's my white cat, Snøstrana. He's a Norwegian forest cat. In 1971, when I had that experience, I was shown fossils in a cliff. Prior to that, the day before that, I was collecting coins, stamps, and matchbox tops. After my experience in 1971, I just gave all that up and collected fossils, because I'd had an experience where I'd been shown fossil dinosaurs. So from 1971 to this day, I collect fossils. That's why I was in the Natural History Museum. So that is a dinosaur jaw, and my white cat likes to sit with the dinosaur jaw. So I couldn't resist that. You may remember this. This is a genuine badge worn by Black Ops military. It was given to me because it's a white snake with red eyes. And for those of you who haven't seen the YouTube videos, we'll come back to him. So it's the 73rd Experimental Air Control Squadron. That means we fly UFOs, but we can't put that on the badges in case you get hold of it like I did. Experimental Air Squadron. But he's white, and he has red eyes, and he has a sword. All right, this is fairly well known, but it's very important. It's my life, and it's important to me. On the left-hand side, that's before I had initiation into a draconis reptilian culture. And on the right-hand side, probably 6 months later, no longer this happy, smiling, carefree boy, but somebody who sees a lot, knows a lot, and has been completely changed. Not hurt, but just changed. Very lucky to have these pictures. Famous one for me now, it's becoming famous, gone around the world. 1965, I was asked would I be a page boy for friends that my mother worked with, choose my words carefully there. And I initially said no, and they just couldn't understand how a 5-year-old boy could dictate to his mother what he was doing and what he wasn't doing. So anyway, I did agree to it simply because I understood that being a page boy was a very important point. You had a a ritual. And those of you who know anything about reptiles know that ritual and ceremony are extremely important. But when you are taking part in a reptilian ceremony, you do not smile, because they don't smile. They can't smile. They have no need for smile. They don't have emotions. So that's why I am straight-faced. And it was really embarrassing. Those are the two bridesmaids behind. And it was like, God, can't you get him to smile? And my mother, biological mother, said, well, if he doesn't want to smile, he doesn't want to smile. I can't make him. That is why I look like that, because that's the way you have to be when you're in a ceremony. Obviously, as I got older, then there's a good point here. Prize for being a good page boy, the family sent us to Butlins for the week. And mother came up and said, take a picture of you in Butlins, and asked me to smile. Now, a researcher said, oh, you poor traumatized boy. No, that's not traumatized. That's how reptiles, that's a reptilian. Anybody here who's reptilian and don't want to admit it, or you have reptilian DNA, or you have a soul, you'll know what that is. That's the way you show interest. Right, okay, I think it's probably time for a tea break. There will be questions afterwards if anybody wants to ask any. So thank you very much indeed. Have a nice cup of tea. Please don't be too long, because I need to crack on. Thank you. Thank you. Interesting break, very nice to talk to some of you. One particular person came up to me and had experienced some of those creatures. If she pops up afterwards, just write an email address down, maybe I can be of assistance. But what that's brought me out to say is that for everybody who stands here in front of you and says, I've had an okay relationship with aliens, there will be 500-600 who have not had an okay relationship with aliens. My story is very different. A book that's worth trying to get hold of is by Dr. Carla Turner, Into the Fringe. I think she's just about got it right. So whilst I am telling you that my situation is okay, that is not representative of the general situation. It's one thing to stand here and tell you how good it is. It's a totally different kettle of fish to say how bad it is. So people will find it very hard to stand in front of an audience and tell you how they've been abused. So it becomes skewed. You get stories of people who have okay times, and it begins to skew your perception. The perception is that most beings from the fourth dimension are negative to humanity. Okay. We need to speed up. I introduced you to the being I call Mum. Let me introduce you to the being I call Dad. Why do I call them that? Because that's what they wanted me to call them. You remember the badge or emblem I showed you of the white snake and the red eyes, which were given to me by a member of the American Special Forces? I've brought it tonight if anybody wants to have a look at that original badge. And this is a Draconis reptilian. Now, I'm only aware of 3 types of reptilian. There are several, but I'm aware of 3 sorts. This is the royal line, Draconis. Those spines on its back are actually residual wings. It can't fly with them. Uses it to signal during ritual and ceremony. It can actually rustle them. It sounds like an old chamois leather, or old dry leaves rustling. So it's a physical signal. So that's the creature I refer to as Dad. This took about 6 months to draw. A very helpful guy in America, an artist, reconstruction artist, would send me a drawing, an email. I would say, no, you've got the hands wrong, send it back. And this went back and forth for months, and this is the one we've got. And I'm very proud of it, because that's as damned close to it as I can remember. Originally, when I was very little and I drew the wings much bigger, because as a small boy, that's the thing that, you know, takes all your eyes, but realistically, that's more like the wings. Mission patches, I always show these because people again say, where's the proof? These are the mission patches that the American Special Forces have. And this is peace through light, and is a laser beam firing at a rocket. Well, the general public would be absolutely astounded to know that there are energy weapons. We'll call it a laser beam anyway. But that's not why I'm showing you. I'm showing it because there's a snake. Of all the animals or the images they could show you, they've used a snake. And on the left-hand side, we have a grey and a B-2 stealth bomber. The symbol in the centre is a technical symbol meaning the closest you can get to being radar invisible. And it's the 509 Squadron. And the 509 Squadron was the squadron that airlifted all the bits and pieces from Roswell out. So they have an official badge with an alien grey for the same squadron in 1947 that airlifted all the refuse and the dead bodies out. And yet, of course, people say there's no proof. In Latin, it says tastes like chicken. And I don't know whether it means that the aliens taste like chicken or the humans taste like chicken. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, they even put a knife and a fork either side of it. Okay, this one is a dragon coming out of the clouds, firing lightning bolts. And Latin translated says, "Get out unless you're initiated." Do you remember I talked to you about how I was initiated into the reptilians and I showed you the two pictures? That's the word initiated. It's very interesting. Here's another one. What we have here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, Area 51. So they can't say Area 51, but they'll show the 5 stars and another one. So that's always a sign within the forces of Area 51. You have the Earth. It's not so clear here. There's a snake here and a dragon. And in Latin, incredibly, incredibly ominous, says, "All your underground bases belong to us." That's what it says. All your underground bases belong to us. I don't see a human on there at all, actually. Here's one. Never before, never again. That's the translation. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars on the left-hand side. More ominously, we've got 3 snakes guarding the earth. I'm going to use the word guarding the earth. So it's snake after snake after snake on black ops projects. We'll come back to this one, Knights Templar. This is the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office. That's the secret department in America that uses all the spy satellites. And they have a Knights Templar defenders of the domain. It's very interesting because Greys, when debriefed in Area 51, refer to the land as the domain. But unfortunately, that's not an alien necessarily. We'll come back to that. The grid is very interesting. Has anybody researched the alien Hat Man? The alien Hat Man. Okay. This is a guy who worked